The text from my brother Ethan hit like a sucker punch. Don't show up to Dad's 60th. You'll embarrass us all. If I see you near the venue, I'll have security drag you out. Each word burned, slicing through years of buried pain. Typical. Ethan. The golden son, always polishing the Carter family's pristine image. I stared at my phone, the glow illuminating my darkened office. Outside, Austin's skyline glittered, a city buzzing with ambition. Inside, my chest tightened. Tonight's party at the River Oaks Country Club was the event of the season. Tech. Moguls, city council members, and corporate titans would gather to celebrate Michael Carter, the man behind Carter Innovations. My father, the visionary who'd built an empire in automotive tech. The same man who'd called me a failure for walking away from his world. Another ping. My stepmother, Diane. Ethan's right. Tonight's critical for your father's partnerships. Don't cause a scene. A scene. That's what they called it when I refused their prepackaged future 7 years ago. I didn't want a corner office handed to me at Carter Innovations. I didn't want a title I hadn't earned. I wanted to carve my own path. So I left. They never asked where I went, never cared. Across my office, a plaque caught the light. Forbes 30. Under 30. Most innovative founders. Next to it, a framed tech trend. Article: Emma Lawson and the Quantum Battery Revolution. They didn't know Emma Lawson was me. I'd taken my mother's maiden name after college, shedding the Carter legacy like a too-tight skin. While they mocked my rebellious phase, I was in a lab designing quantum cell batteries that would redefine energy storage. The same tech Carter Innovations now needed to avoid collapse. My phone buzzed again. David Chen, my COO at Lawson Energy Solutions. Everything's set. Pinnacle Ventures. Announces the partnership at 8 p.m. You sure about revealing yourself tonight? I glanced at the invitation on my desk, its gold-embossed letters mocking me. A celebration of Michael Carter. Visionary, leader, father, father. The word tasted bitter. I typed back, yes, it's time. David's reply was instant. Pinnacles. CEO Olivia Grant insisted you attend. Your dad's been begging to meet Lawson Energy's CEO for months. I smirked. Of course he had. His company was bleeding market share, stuck in the gas-powered past while the world raced toward electric. He needed my tech to survive. I slipped into a sleek black dress. Elegant, understated, no logos. Around my neck, I fastened a silver crescent pendant. My mother's. The only piece of family I carried. She'd given it to me before she died, back when I was still the daughter my father paraded at galas. Follow your heart, Emma, she'd whispered, pressing the pendant into my hand. Even if it takes you far from where they want you to be. The River Oaks Country Club loomed ahead as my car pulled up to the valet. Chandeliers glowed through tall windows, laughter spilling out. A massive banner stretched across the entrance. Happy 60th birthday, Michael Carter. I stepped out, heels clicking on the pavement. At the check-in table, Ethan's wife, Lauren, stood with her clipboard, her face a mask of poised perfection. It shattered when she saw me. Emma? She stammered. You're not supposed to be here. Ethan said, Good. Evening, Lauren, I said, voice calm but sharp. Check your tablet. I'm on the guest list. Olivia Grant's office called ahead. Her fingers fumbled across the screen. Wait. Yes, you're listed. Ms. Grant specifically requested... How did you... But I was already past her, stepping into the ballroom. Marble floors gleamed under golden light. The air buzzed with calculated laughter and clinking glasses. Austin's elite, all here to worship my father. Nothing had changed. Diane stood by the bar, flashing a diamond bracelet as she charmed a group of investors. My half-sister, Chloe, clung to a young hedge. Fun, bro, her eyes wide with ambition. Then Ethan spotted me. His jaw tightened, and he stormed over, all 6'2" of him radiating fury. "What part of stay away didn't you get?" he hissed. "Security's on speed dial. You've got 1 minute to leave." "Lovely to see you too, Ethan," I said, meeting his glare. "It's a beautiful party." "You're humiliating yourself," he snapped. "And us." I glanced at my watch. "Actually, I think you'll find Olivia Grant arrives in 30 seconds. She asked me to be here for the announcement." His brow furrowed. "Grant? What could Olivia Grant possibly want with you?" "Right." On cue, the room shifted. Conversations hushed, heads turned. Olivia Grant had arrived. At 65, she didn't need to shout her presence. Pinnacle Ventures, her investment firm, was a legend in tech. Tonight, everyone knew she was unveiling a game-changing partnership. My father practically sprinted to her, hand outstretched, desperate to claim the spotlight. "Olivia, so glad you made it," he said, voice smooth as whiskey. "Let's talk inside." But Olivia's eyes scanned the room. They stopped on me. "There she is," she said, brushing past my father without a glance. She walked straight to me, her smile warm but commanding. "Ms. Lawson, an honor to meet you in person." The room froze. Diane's cocktail glass tilted. Chloe blinked. Ethan looked like he'd been slapped. My father turned pale as a ghost. "I don't understand," my father stammered, turning to Olivia. "You know Emma?" Olivia's smile widened, her eyes glinting with amusement. "Know her, Michael? Your daughter is the most brilliant mind in energy tech today." She paused, letting the words sink in. "Judging by your faces, I'm guessing none of you knew Emma Lawson and Emma Carter are the same person." Diane's champagne flute slipped, shattering on the marble floor. The sound echoed like a gunshot. No one moved. "That's impossible," Ethan said, stepping forward, his voice cracking. "She's been a nobody since she left the company. She hasn't done anything." "I've been building Lawson Energy Solutions," I said, stepping toward him. "Valued at $4.2 billion and growing." My father gripped a chair for balance, his hand trembling. "Lawson, the quantum battery company everyone's chasing, that's you?" "That's right," I said, meeting his eyes. "The elusive CEO you've been begging to meet. The tech that could save Carter Innovations." Olivia cleared her throat. "Shall we proceed with the announcement?" "Wait," my father said, holding up a hand. "What announcement?" I stepped forward, my voice clear and steady. "Pinnacle Ventures is partnering with Lawson Energy Solutions. Together, we're acquiring a controlling interest in Carter Innovations." The ballroom erupted into whispers, gasps, disbelieving stares. Ethan's face flushed crimson. "You can't do this. This is our company." "Actually," Olivia said smoothly, "we can, and we are." She turned to the crowd. "Lawson's quantum battery tech is a generation ahead of anything on the market. Every major manufacturer wants in. But Ms. Carter insisted her family's company get the first shot. A courtesy, not an obligation." Diane pushed forward, her voice sharp. "Michael, you can't let her take over. She'll ruin everything we've built." I laughed softly. "Everything you built? The company bleeding market share? Clinging to outdated gas systems while the world goes electric? The company 3/4 from bankruptcy?" My father's stoic mask cracked. Years of silence flickered in his eyes. "Emma, please. We can talk about this." "Now you want to talk?" I said, voice low but firm. 7 years ago, I told you electric was the future. You told me to stop playing scientist and focus on real business. When I showed you my prototypes, Ethan called them doodles. When I left to start Lawson, Diane said I was abandoning my family. I stood taller. "I didn't abandon anything," I built something that matters, and now I'm here to save the company that never listened to me. The room was silent. Olivia watched, her expression unreadable. The weight of pride, denial, and resentment hung heavy. The time for talking was 7 years ago, I said, locking eyes with my father. Now it's about saving Carter Innovations. You need my tech, I'm offering it. The only question is whether you can accept that the daughter you dismissed is your only way out. Chloe, silent until now, spoke up, her voice shaky. But all those times we invited you to dinners, events, you always said you were busy. I was busy, I replied. Building a company takes sacrifice, but no one asked what I was doing. You were too busy assuming I'd failed to imagine I might succeed. Olivia placed a folder on the table. The documents are ready, Michael, she said. Lawson Energy Solutions will acquire a 60% stake in Carter Innovations. Emma will step in as CEO and begin implementing our electric vehicle roadmap. Production starts in 6 months. My father's eyes darted to me. And if I refuse? Then Pinnacle and I take our tech to your competitors, I said without hesitation. They'll jump at the chance. Ethan grabbed his arm. Dad, you can't let this happen. Be quiet, Ethan, my father snapped, his voice like a blade. The room stilled. He turned to me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. The battery tech? It's really yours? I nodded and pulled out my phone, opening Lawson's internal system. Patent filings, schematics, IPs, dozens of them, lit up the screen. Every cell design, every energy protocol, every cooling circuit. While you pitied me, I was reshaping the industry. He took the phone, hands shaking. His eyes scanned the screen, shifting from confusion to awe to something heavier. Regret. They brimmed with tears. Save it, I said gently. We'll talk about the past later. Right now I need to know, are you ready to listen to your failure of a daughter? Olivia held out a pen. The room held its breath. My father's hand trembled as he signed the contract. Diane gasped. Ethan stormed out, dragging Lauren with him. Chloe stared at me, stunned. Ladies and gentlemen, Olivia announced, please welcome the new CEO of Carter Lawson Industries, Ms. Emma Carter. The applause was hesitant but real. My father stood silent. Diane's composure cracked. I touched the crescent pendant at my neck, my mother's voice echoing. Follow your heart. I had. And it led me here, not as the daughter they wanted, but as the woman they never saw coming. 7 years ago, I walked away from Carter Innovations, from my family, from the life they'd mapped out for me. I was 23, fresh out of MIT, my head buzzing with ideas. My father's office was a glass fortress, all sharp edges and polished steel. I'd stood there clutching a binder of early quantum battery designs, my heart pounding. Electric vehicles are a fad, he'd said, barely glancing at my work. Focus on what's proven, gas systems, supply chains. That's our future. Ethan, already a VP at 26, had smirked. Cute sketches, Emma. Maybe try art school. Diane, newly married to my father, had chimed in. You're a Carter. Act like one. Stop chasing daydreams. I left that day, the binder still in my hands. I didn't cry until I was alone in my dorm, the silver crescent pendant warm against my skin. My mother had died 2 years earlier, cancer stealing her in months. She'd been the only one who believed in me. You'll change the world, Emma, she'd said. Don't let anyone tell you how. So I did. I changed my name to Emma Lawson, moved to a tiny apartment in Boston, and poured everything into my research. Nights in labs, days pitching to skeptical investors. I ate ramen and wore secondhand clothes while my family dined at country clubs. They thought I'd crashed and burned. I let them. By year 3, Lawson Energy Solutions was born. By year 5, we had a prototype. By year 7, our quantum battery, smaller, lighter, 10 times more efficient than anything on the market, was the talk of the industry. I'd done it without their name, their money, or their approval, but the invitations still came. Christmas. Dinners, Chloe's engagement party, my father's charity galas. I declined them all, citing work. They never asked what work. They assumed I was waitressing, or worse, unemployed. Ethan once texted, "Still playing Rebel? Come back when you're ready to grow up." I didn't reply. I was too busy building an empire. Now, standing in the River Oaks ballroom, I felt the weight of those years. The silence, the dismissal, the assumption that I was nothing. But I wasn't here to gloat. I was here to save what they'd nearly destroyed. Carter Innovations wasn't always a sinking ship. In its heyday, my father's company led the automotive tech world. Gas-powered systems, supply chain software, precision engineering, they were untouchable. But the world changed. Electric vehicles surged. Competitors like Tesla and Rivian outpaced them. Carter Innovations clung to old tech, hemorrhaging clients and cash. I'd seen it coming. At 20, I'd written a report for my father, urging a pivot to electric. He'd laughed. "You're too young to understand business." Ethan had called it naive. Diane had suggested I focus on something less technical, dear. Now their empire was crumbling. Investors were pulling out. Factories sat idle. My father's emails to Emma Lawson were desperate, begging for a meeting with the mysterious CEO whose tech could save him. He didn't know it was me. None of them did. In the ballroom, as Olivia's announcement sank in, I saw the cracks in their facade. Diane's forced smile, Ethan's clenched fists, Chloe's confusion, my father's trembling hands. They'd built their world on control, on the idea that I was the failure. Now, that world was unraveling. The weeks leading up to the party had been a blur. David Chen and I had worked late nights, finalizing the Pinnacle deal. Lawson Energy Solutions wasn't just a company. It was my proof. Proof I wasn't the disappointment they'd painted me as. Proof I could outbuild them. Outthink them, outlast them. Olivia Grant had been my ally from the start. She'd found me at a tech conference 2 years ago, my identity still a secret. "You're the one behind Lawson?" she'd asked, eyes sharp. I'd nodded, expecting skepticism. Instead, she'd smiled. "Let's make history," we'd planned. The acquisition meticulously. Carter Innovations was vulnerable, its stock plummeting. Pinnacle Ventures would fund the buyout, but I'd insisted on one condition. My father's company got first dibs. Not out of loyalty, but strategy. I wanted them to see me. Really see me. David had warned me. "This reveal will burn bridges." "Emma, are you sure?" "I'm not burning bridges," I'd said. "I'm building new ones, on my terms." Now, as I stood in the ballroom, I felt the weight of that choice. Ethan's rage, Diane's panic, my father's shock, they were collateral damage. My real target was the narrative they'd written about me, the one that said I was nothing. The announcement wasn't the end. It was the spark. The next morning, I walked into Carter Innovations, now Carter Lawson Industries, as CEO. The glass doors gleamed, the new logo already in place. Employees whispered as I passed, their eyes wide. The old company slogan, "Driving Tomorrow's Future," still hung on the wall. I'd replace it soon. Innovation runs in the family. My father's office was now mine. Sunlight streamed across the desk, where a package waited. Inside was my mother's old engineering textbook, her handwriting on a sticky note. "For Emma, who will change the world her own way." My father had left it, a silent apology. But apologies wouldn't erase 7 years. I called a board meeting that afternoon. Ethan was there, sullen but present. Diane had resigned, citing personal reasons. Chloe sat quietly, avoiding my gaze. My father looked older, smaller, as I laid out the plan. Electric vehicle production, starting in 6 months. Quantum batteries across all divisions. A complete pivot. This is reckless, Ethan muttered. You'll tank us. No, I said, sliding a report across the table. Your outdated systems were tanking you. This is salvation. The board voted unanimously to proceed. Ethan stormed out again. My father stayed, his eyes on the report. You really built this? He asked. I did, I said. And I'm just getting started. That night, I stood on my apartment balcony, the Austin skyline sprawling before me. My phone buzzed. A text from Chloe. I found something in Dad's office. You need to see it. Attached was a photo of an old letter, dated a year after I left. My father's handwriting. Emma, I was wrong. Your designs were brilliant. I didn't listen. I'm sorry. He'd written it, but never sent it. He'd known I was right, even then. The realization hit hard. Not anger, but sadness. He'd seen my potential, but let pride stop him. I touched the crescent pendant, my mother's voice echoing. Follow your heart, I texted Chloe back. Thank you. Then I called my father. We need to talk, I said. Not as CEO and founder, as father and daughter. He arrived an hour later, eyes red. I was afraid, he admitted. Afraid you'd outshine me. I pushed you away to protect my ego. I nodded, the pendant cool against my skin. We can't change the past, but we can build something new. Together. He extended his hand. I took it. Not as the daughter he'd dismissed, but as the woman who'd rewritten his legacy. 6 months later, Carter Lawson Industries launched its first electric vehicle line. The quantum battery was a game changer, orders flooding in from across the globe. Ethan took a leave of absence, unable to stomach my leadership. Chloe started asking questions, learning about the tech. My father became my advisor, his pride, replaced by quiet respect. I stood in my office, the new slogan gleaming on the wall, Innovation runs in the family. Below it, my mother's textbook sat on display, a reminder of where I'd started. I'd proven them wrong, not by destroying them, but by saving them, by building something better. To anyone reading this, know this. You don't need permission to become who you're meant to be. I was dismissed, laughed at, banned from my own family's celebration, but I kept building. If you're in a room where no one sees your worth, don't wait for their applause. Build anyway. Grow anyway. The legacy you create is yours forever. And if you see someone like me, quietly working, overlooked, take a second look. They might just be rewriting the rules.